watching Cybersecurity Inside, a videocast where you can discover what you need to know about cybersecurity. Here are your hosts, Tom Garrison and Camille Morehart.
Hi, and welcome to the Cybersecurity Inside podcast. I'm your host, Tom Garrison, and with me as always is my co-host, Camille Morehart. And today we have a very special guest, Harshil Parikh. He is a founder and CEO of Tromzo, which is focused on application security management platform automating SDL. He is experienced in building security and compliance from the group up and scaling it with people, process, and technology. So welcome to the podcast today, Harshil.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom.
I'd love to hear from you. The world is increasingly depending on software, and this evolution of software development is something that obviously every company is undertaking. I wonder, with your perspective now, on what is state of the art with software development as it relates to security, and how do you see that evolving over the next 3 to 5 years?
Over the next 3 to 5 years, what we're going to have is a lot of the current software security functions and capabilities that are done by the security teams or application security teams. They're shifting away. A lot of those will be owned by the development teams themselves. You can see some of those indicators with how a lot of the development tools are including security capabilities within their own platforms. So in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a lot of developers start owning security testing and the basic security functions that today are done by a different team, security team. And then eventually, when these basic things get owned by dev teams, security folks will start focusing a little bit more on the high value, high strategy work that really brings the security engineering and expertise to the table. So now you're going to see a split functionality between dev teams owning a lot of the security stuff and security engineers really focusing on the engineering capabilities of cybersecurity.
It seems to be there's a lot of excitement around this notion of automation, especially in security processes and tools. I've seen examples where that absolutely fits and works and is very easy to deploy and scale, and other examples where it seems extremely frustrating to try to make happen. So I'm wondering what kind of environment sort of lends itself to automation, or what kind of process or tool lends itself to that versus the type of scenario that is probably further out on the horizon.
For an engineering team that is further along in their DevOps journey, cloud transformation journey, you can pretty much infer the entire stack if you just look at the code, which is great because now that you have data available as code, you can automate a lot of those processes, right? So now that is the availability of your entire stack, your development platform as code, adoption of development practices across the full stack. That really helps in automate a lot of those things. So earlier, you couldn't tell what's going to happen in the infrastructure in terms of, changes or how the infrastructure is configured until it's actually deployed, right? So you are looking at a runtime infrastructure, and then everything becomes super manual because it's already there. In the world today where it's infrastructure as code, people are using Terraform and AWS, you can actually look at the code and automate your entire process of infrastructure security as well. Your cloud security gets automated. There's a huge opportunity. I think the fundamental pieces are there to be able to automate these processes, these checks and balances from a security perspective across the full stack. It's a matter of us really understanding how to do it, how to make it seamless, and get ourselves as a core part of that process.
To hear the rest of this podcast in conversation that we have with Harshil, and to hear others, please tune in to Cybersecurity Inside wherever you get your podcasts.